So, what are some Christian beliefs that are radically opposed to the culture that actually could be an advantage to our witness? Do we have them, or are the ways we're weird or different just stumbling blocks?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we think of areas where we're out of step with the culture as things we just sort of have to get around, like, like dance around those
Right.
things, to make a case for the gospel, we're not thinking of this correctly. I think one of the great opportunities we have in the next century is to be a source of stability and health and sanity when it comes to family, gender, and sexuality.
Yeah.
And I know this sounds crazy to people because it seems
Yeah.
like you ask any apologist, and I mean, right now, questions about sexuality, family, the meaning of humanity, the body, those are the
Right.
huge barriers. But I would jump back a century to say 100 years ago, church leaders who were wondering how to reach the culture had huge barriers when it came to the miracles, the supernatural, in a scientific world, in a technologically advancing world. I mean, they looked
Yeah.
at it as embarrassing. We can't
Yeah.
expect educated people to believe the virgin birth. Stuff. Are there ways to
Right.
reinterpret this or downplay, maybe not deny, but at least downplay some of this stuff because we want to get a hearing, right, for the gospel? And then if you could go back 100 years, you'd say, do you guys realize like within a 100-year span of time, the biggest, fastest movement of Christianity in the world will be Pentecostalism, which actually emphasizes not just the miracles in the Bible, but present day miracles.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a Pentecostal. I'm not saying that's the way all Christians should go. I just find it fascinating that the denominations that sort of sidestepped, downplayed, and sometimes denied the supernatural in order to rescue Christianity are in numerical freefall,
Right.
while the denominations that actually lifted up the miracles in the Bible, talked about God's personal power and presence in the world, are the ones that are flourishing all over the world and wound up becoming a touchstone and a source of inspiration for people that were looking for the transcendent and not to be sort of captured in this sort of materialist, naturalistic world that we live in. So if the last century is any indication, then I think a century from now, what if the groups that are most flourishing are those who have not downplayed, but actually just relished what the Bible gives us and teaches us about humanity, about
Yeah.
family, gender, sexuality.
Yeah, yeah. And people long for limits. They long for structure. They long for, as you were saying, stability. And I think that Christian marriages, Christian families can be tremendous witness into our culture. A culture that feels disengaged, that feels alienated, that feels anxious, that feels like there are no rules except expressing yourself and pursuing your own personal good.
That means we have to we actually have to be that counter. It's not just what we believe.
Yeah,
We have to actually be that counterpoint.
right.
So our families have to be healthier.
Yeah.
The challenge here is the church has a credibility crisis when it comes to living up to even the ideals that we uphold.
Right. Yeah. And so I think about an issue like pornography, right? We have to be different. We have to be a place where men and women are not addicted to pornography so that we can stand up and we can say, actually, it's good not to objectify other human beings and treat them as objects of desire only.
Right.
Right. And we can be that space, and that's exciting and it's countercultural. But we have to take the initiative.
Yeah. So I mean that's a great example, and it's not just something we are saying out in the culture, but something that we're together holding ourselves accountable to
Yeah.
each other to live in a different way,
Yep.
to provide that that countercultural way of life.